Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Made Of with your boy, Mike C-Roc. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for taking the time to listen or watch this episode. I'm excited to have a guest every time I have a guest, but especially today because I have Steve Ody with me today. He is from on the other side of the pond, as they say, and he's the Traveling Optimist. And I can't wait to dig into this with him. But before we do that, I just want to remind you that the book Rocket Fuel, my debut book, is available now. And I had a forward written by the only person I would really want a forward written by, and that was Grant Cardone, the Mr. 10X. If you haven't heard of Grant Cardone, you need to go find out. He would say that that's his fault that you don't know who he is. But, you know, he's a hero to me, a mentor to me, and I was so thankful to have him write that book. And by the way, I want to explain something to everyone listening. When he wrote the book, he decided to because of two things. One, I lived to a certain standard. I lived that 10X standard that he talks about. And secondly, we made it worth his time. So those are two things that sometimes you have to do to get people to help you, lift you up. And so Rocket Fuel is available right now. Mike C-Roc with no K. That's like a croc. MikeCroc.com/book. Go get a copy for you, your family, friends, coworkers, and let's help inspire the world with the message of turning setbacks into rocket fuel. So that's what Are You Made Of is all about. We always like to start off the show with that question to our guest. Steve Ody, what are you made of?
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me on your show. It's a really a fantastic pleasure to be asked onto your show. So thanks very much, mate.
You're welcome, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't wait to get your book either. I'm looking forward to receiving that. So I've put it on my Christmas list.
Love it. I love it, man. Thank you so much for your support, man.
It's a really good question. What are you made of? And I think really for me, my life throughout has been guided by optimism. It's something that I've used pretty much throughout all my life. So for me, that's my it's my life force, really, more than anything. It's my sort of superpower that it's not the only thing that I live by, or it's not the only characteristic that I have. I've managed to build up some resilience, and words like integrity and things mean a lot to me. But I guess optimism stems back really from a childhood where, when I was young, I was bullied, and my grandmother taught me a few things. When I was that age, sort of 8 or 9, and that stayed with me throughout my life. So things like, rising above it, it's not going to last. She taught me the mantra about sticks and stones, may break your bones, but words can never hurt you. Now, that's not strictly true, because words do hurt people. But what it did over time was build this sort of, it's like a force field, if you like. So that enabled me to rise above all of the issues that were going on in my life at that time. I've always been independent. I've loved sport. And sport was also a release valve for me as well. So, I used to love cycling. I lived in a part of England called the Peak District, which was incredible. And me and my mate Craig, we used to go out on a bike, and that was my happy space, if you like. And playing football or soccer, just meant that I could leave some of the horrible stuff away. But so you might think that's kind of weird, really. How can you be optimistic after that sort of start? But actually, my nan never taught me to she taught me to keep moving forward. And also, she would never put up with somebody who's going to have a pity party.
Love it. Yeah.
So she said, look, I don't want any of that nonsense. This is what's happening now. This is how you deal with it. Let's move forward, look forward to the future, and be optimistic. And she gets that purely because I think she had tuberculosis. And so she had to have a lung removed. So she's lucky to be alive, really. And I think that kind of mentality, that joy of life, if you like, transferred over through me, I think.
I love that, man. Well, I'm big on looking up words and definitions, like we talked about offline the other day. And for the listeners, guys, studying something and learning something, it is imperative that you know the words that you're reading or hearing. And if you don't know a word, a lot of times, right after you hear that word or read a word that you don't understand, you will quit the study of whatever you were doing, listening to, or reading. And it's imperative that you know the definitions of things. So I always like to look up definitions, no matter how smart I might think I am. I'm more of a smart ass than a smart guy, but as much smart as I think I am, I always look up definitions, because a lot of times I'll find out, wait a minute, optimistic, I thought I knew the definition of that, but when I read the definition, it comes out to something different. So let me read that to you real quick. Optimistic, of, relating to, or characterized by optimism, feeling or showing hope for the future. Okay, so
Yeah.
showing hope for the future. So this is a big thing about what are you made of, and turning setbacks into rocket fuel, because when you have a setback or adversity, it's very difficult when you are in close proximity to that setback or adversity to have any hope or to feel optimistic.
Yes.
And this is my message, and we align very well, because my message is to be proactive with the rocket fuel concept of turning setbacks into rocket fuel for your future, because I know how hard it is to be optimistic the closer in proximity you are to the adversity. So Steve, I love that, man. And where does the traveling part come into play?
Yeah. So basically, I've been in the travel industry all my career, and so I started in 1987 and worked through up until about 2004, when I decided to start my own business, and which was a lifelong dream of mine, really, more than anything. Fortunately, I've got an amazing wife who saw that that was part of what I've always wanted to do, and she said, "Look, let's go for it. The timing's right." And I said, "Okay, let's do this." And so, yeah, I set up our business in 2004, not really with the focus of earning mega money, Mike, if you know what I mean. For the business was a vehicle to and an opportunity to see my two daughters grow. Olivia, she was 5 months old at the time, and Sophia was 4 years old.
I have a daughter named Sophia too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely beautiful name. And so I really wanted to be able to have be a positive role model for them, and see them grow up. And I've been really blessed with being able to see them grow up and grow into really beautiful girls. They're 16 and 20 now, and
how do you still have your hair? Because look, I only have one Sophia and one daughter, and man.
Well, I think it's just in my DNA. I think I've got good healthy. All my grandparents had good healthy hair, so yeah, I think I've kept that, mate. So, but thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I think with the business side of things, it's enabled me as a vehicle. So I've seen all of their nativity plays. I've been to all of their teacher reviews every year. I was able to take them to all of their dance classes and stuff, and really have be a positive influence for them. And so I feel really blessed about that. But also, it was, I suppose, more of a lifestyle business more than anything. It enabled me to spend a lot of extra time with my dad when he was diagnosed with lung cancer. So, we used to go on road trips, and I used to take him to the hospital and stuff, which I just wouldn't have been able to do if I was working for somebody else. So,
right. So you owned, it was a travel company and like a travel agency?
Yeah, that's
yes.
It. So yeah, yes. we send people out on trips around the world, on trips of a lifetime adventure, safaris and trips around South America and Australia and New Zealand, and fantastic trips, awesome.
Now, have you had the opportunity to go places for a lot less money or for free because of your position in that?
Not recently, but yeah, when I was working, the travel industry's changed over the years. God, I could really bore your listeners with lots of stuff about that. But I've been really lucky in my career to have visited quite a lot of places around the world, and and seen some amazing things.
Well, no, we got to stop you there. What's your favorite, and what was the most amazing?
Okay, so I have a spiritual home in Africa, really, and so I love East Africa. So Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, those countries, and I love going on safari. I am just at home on the savannah, watching the sunrise over the Serengeti, wintry Sussex. But I would say going to East Africa, seeing all the wildlife, the beautiful scenery, incredible travel experiences, really. That's the top thing for me.
Yeah. And then, so you're not much like of a beach relaxed kind of guy?
Yeah, I could do it a little bit, for a while, but yeah, I'd have to get up and start doing stuff. I mean, we went on Maria and I went on a honeymoon in the Maldives, and for 2 weeks, and I 2 weeks was just about enough for me. But I tell you what it did do. The 2 weeks itself, you didn't wear shoes for 2 weeks, and it made you relax because there wasn't anything to do. It was hard for the first sort of 5 days, but then you sort of get into it. It's fantastic.
So what is what is some kind of a story or amazing story that you have from the travel that you have done?
Yeah.
That you can think of that was just like that would just be like, wow, man, that's crazy. Or
oh God, there are a lot. The two I'm gonna talk about two. The first one is in Uganda. I'm watching. So we trek into the impenetrable forest in Uganda. Okay, and you trek up a mountain to see mountain gorillas. And it took about 2 hours to get to where they were nesting, and you have an hour with the gorillas, and it was the most amazing hour. It was they call it like the magic hour, and to see these, I mean, you get within a meter or 2 meters of these huge animals, and a couple of silverbacks in this family that we were there watching. And lots of a couple of babies playing and swinging on the tree branches. It was just awesome. I mean, it was just incredible. And they have an amazing energy about them. You can't describe it. You have to be there to like feel it. But, and the silverbacks have got like forearms the size of, your thigh. They were huge. It was just amazing. And you can get really close to them. And they have no idea of space, so they could walk right past you, and you'd be within touching distance of them, and these wild animals and stuff. Incredible. And
how do you keep that safe though?
Well, they're habituated. Okay, so they take about 6 years to habituate these groups of families of gorillas, so they're used to humans being there. There is always a risk, but it's managed really well. It's an amazing experience. You should do it.
I love gorillas, man.
Oh, do you? Oh no, I tell you, it was life-changing. It really was. It was very emotional. To be so close to such a beautiful animal. And then the second one, again, it's ironically, it's primate related. So we were in an area in Tanzania called Mahali Mountains, and you go chimpanzee trekking there, and it's just awesome. So you're on the shores of Lake Tanganyika, which is, surrounded by granite boulders and these huge mountains as a backdrop, and you're staying in this beautiful lodge with thatched roofs over your tent, and there's got this lovely beach, and then you've got this incredible mountain, the Kungwe mountain behind you, and you basically spend the whole day trekking for these chimpanzees. and you get to them and you can hear them, you know where they are because you can hear them. They really shriek, and the noise that they make is quite intimidating. They're not like gorillas at all. They're really vocal and they sound aggressive, but that's just the way that they communicate with the rest of the troop.
Yeah.
And so we were trekking up this mountain, going across stream, crossing streams and climbing over boulders and climbing up these really steep mountains, using the tree branches to get up and stuff. It was really hard work. But then we got to this space where there they were. And then all of a sudden, the alpha male comes down the mountain and he really beats his chest. And then he slaps this trunk of a tree and it sends this boom right through the forest. It was the most amazing thing.
Wait a minute, this is like a chimpanzee, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're the size of like a small child.
A little bit bigger. Yeah.
Bit bigger.
Really strong.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just incredible animals. And they've been habituated like the gorillas. So it's a reasonably safe environment. And then all of a sudden the whole of the troop decides to take off down the mountain and then back up another mountain. So we decide to follow them, and we were running over this terrain and up and down mountains to get to spend some more time. And then all of a sudden they'd stopped and they were grooming each other and stuff. It was just amazing. Fantastic.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was.
And
it was really cool.
I got to be honest, habituate, I could guess what that means. But again, I got to practice what I preach. Like I said, I always look words up. So habituate, to make use to, or something, to make use to something, right?
Yes.
So they were made used to having people around, similar to in America where we see wild deer a lot of times. Where I live in Maryland, they'll come right up to you in some of these areas here because they're just so used to people being around. Same thing with squirrels, so the chimpanzees and the gorillas were like that.
Yeah.
And that's just it's to me, thinking about how strong those animals are, to think about the fact that you could do that and just take a chance that one's not going to go crazy like human beings do.
Yeah. No, there is always a little bit of a risk, but it's a managed risk, and everyone, it's very safe, but it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I decided to do it, and I'm so glad I did, because memories.
So elephants and giraffes, have you seen all those in the wild as well?
Oh yeah. We've seen elephants, huge herds of elephants. We've seen lions take down wildebeest, leopards and their cubs in the trees, in the acacia trees. Giraffes, the whole thing. We've even stopped to go to a picnic spot in this particular park in Tanzania, and we all got out of the vehicle, and then suddenly the driver says, "Everybody back in the vehicle! Everybody back in the vehicle!" And we all jumped in, and literally at that second, this black mamba snake slid right through and under the vehicle, and then right down and went into a termite mound and circled its way around into a termite mound.
Wow, man. That's awesome, man.
Really
I'm sure
wild.
there's plenty. I'm sure you have plenty more in there. But now let me ask you this, Steve. What is your mission now?
I guess my mission really, Mike, is to help. Actually, that's a really good question. My mission right now is obviously, so travel has been decimated because of the coronavirus. So right now I've pivoted into other fields and some consultancy work, because when your business doesn't have any income coming in, you've got to find alternatives. And to be fair, that's not something I've been afraid of doing all throughout my life. So it was fine. But I guess my mission is from the reason I started my Traveling Optimist podcast really was because when coronavirus started, all the money was going out of the business to pay customers back. I needed something else to do. And so I thought I'm going to start a podcast. So yeah, I started a podcast, had some really fantastic guests on, and I love it. And I've really found that actually I love it so much. I want to continue doing it. And so that podcast was the start of me addressing a few things in my life prior to after the coronavirus started. So yeah, I went back to basics a little bit, did my strength finder, did a Colby test. I don't know if you've done those before, but they really helped me find
Personality
out.
kind of,
Yeah,
it's
that's
kind of
right.
like a disc assessment, but different, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just had my disc assessment done as well. So that was
What was your, not your
so
score, but what was your rating
I
or whatever?
I got that on my screen here. I am a
By the way, I've only taken the disc. I think I'm getting ready to, our friend Justin Breen introduced me to someone, yesterday recently, that's a professor at Northwestern, and
yeah.
we are going to be working on something together on, I guess it might be a Colby. I'm not sure.
Colby's great. I love Colby. With disc, I'm high influence and high compliance, and very low dominance and steadiness.
So I was a high I and D.
Okay, yeah, I can see the dominance
Yeah,
definitely, and
yeah,
influence.
or
Yes,
driver dominance, yeah, and then I influencer. Is that what the I is?
yeah,
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 excellent,
yeah.
excellent.
So that's what I saw, but I'm looking forward to seeing the other one. And it's good to me. Like I like to look at my strengths, but and pour gasoline, not gasoline. Let's say rocket fuel on the strengths. But the other thing is like, there's weaknesses that I may have that
Yeah,
they may be weaknesses because I just need to develop them.
hmm
And this goes for everybody. And then there's weaknesses sometimes where you just don't like doing it. It's just not something you enjoy. It doesn't make you happy. It doesn't make you feel good. So I believe that you should focus on your strengths, obviously, but then also the weaknesses that you not necessarily don't like doing, you just need skill for. You should develop those to add to your strengths. And then the weaknesses that you just don't like it, not because you're lazy, but if somebody just doesn't like doing that and it doesn't bring them joy, then let those things go. Get somebody else to do, because those things maybe bring someone else joy. And
absolutely.
you just got to find those people, right? So yeah, I
So
love that, man.
yeah, no, I found that was a really interesting way of building my own self-confidence, because I went through a pretty dark period in the summer, and then all of a sudden, I said, "Look, you got to snap out of this. Rubbish in, rubbish out." So I went back to basics, as I said. Reread the parts of Napoleon Hill's books and Dale Carnegie and Stephen Covey. Reread those books, and because I've got a library of quite a lot of self-development books, but those three are the key ones for me, and then obviously your one next. And realize that everything happens for a reason, and so that helped me sort of navigate the choppy waters of the travel industry really sort of imploding.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to pick up, but
It's going to come back.
next year I'll be fine with that.
Well, wait a minute. I think that when it does come back, it's going to explode, and you're not going to be able to keep yourself straight because there's going to be so much of it. That's what I think. And that's not being an optimist. That's partly being an optimist, but I think that people are just so done with being stuck somewhere, and they're going to want to come out strong. So I'm thinking big things for you here in the future.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah, but I did, I did other things. I put a playlist, my morning motivation playlist on my phone. So every morning I listen to that, and I've got some motivational stuff in there with Les Brown and Eric Thomas, and songs that really sort of evoke some emotion in me to really make the best of the day. I reflected on how far things have come, really, more than anything. It's very easy to be all down in the dumps with stuff, but actually, if you just stand still and just think, well, things aren't that bad. Over the last 14, 15 years, just think how much we've accomplished.
Yeah.
And that helped me come to terms with things. That sort of made peace with the fact that actually, things are quite difficult, but they're not that difficult really at the end of the day.
Yeah, man. Look, here's the thing, man. We do an activity journal every day. And then, I just thought about this. It'd be a good idea to do that for the year and kind of like do a reflection of how the year went and see if you met everything that you really wanted to, goal wise, the life you wanted to live. And if not, the new year, to me, Steve, time is like such an artificial thing, right?
Mhm.
It's something that man has made so that we can all be together at certain points at certain times and make sure we show up at the same time,
Yeah.
hopefully,
Yeah.
despite circumstances. But at the end of the year, it just gives it an opportunity to really reflect on the past year. And if you didn't do what you wanted to do or accomplish what you wanted to accomplish, figure out what the reason was. Not make excuses, but what reasons that you can work on to fix.
Mhm.
And that, really determine that, do you want to live the life you want to live? As short as life is, why not?
Yeah.
And so that gives you an opportunity. And I love that you took the time to do that and put things in perspective, right?
Absolutely put things in perspective. It's really important, I've come to realize. And, I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk about something, and he said something on a video. He talked about 4 trillion to 1. And that really resonated with me, So the odds on us being born into this world are like 4 trillion to 1. And
Based
that
on
kind of
the sperm count that comes in on fertilization, right? So
everything.
let's just make that clear. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's trillions of sperm going swimming and they're racing.
Yeah.
I want to clarify that, because basically and you're the one that made it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we've already won the lottery, right?
Yeah.
So you got to make the most of it.
Yeah. 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 Where do all the other ones go? Like, they just die? Like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not really that bothered. I'm glad that I did.
Hey, I should go out to the Olympic swim team. I didn't really realize I was that good of a swimmer until I think about it. So,
no, absolutely.
yeah, no, it's great. Well, listen, how can my audience, listen to your podcast, get in touch with you, engage with you?
Well, thank you. My podcast is on all of the main platforms. Just look up The Traveling Optimist, and it with Steve Ody, and you'll find me. I'm on LinkedIn. If anybody wants to connect, that would be great. Very happy to. I'm all about optimism and hope and positivity and stuff. So if anybody wants to connect, if anybody wants to talk about bullying, potentially, I'd be very happy to try and help them and guide them, and if they need somebody to talk to, I'm always available. So I guess I'm a bit of a kind of, I don't feel like I'm a fraud, Mike, but I'm not. I've come on the show and I don't have like 100,000 Twitter followers or 30,000
30,000
LinkedIn connections and stuff. And
no. We don't. Hey, no. Look, this is an opportunity for you. You said, I think this is your second or third podcast interview that you've actually been on someone else's show.
Yeah.
And the fact that I have the opportunity, because I know where you're going based on your attitude and the type of person you are, for me to have the opportunity to have interviewed you early on in this journey that you've started is an honor. And I'm thankful for that. And
bless you.
yeah. And I wanted to say something about, I lost my train of thought because I was going to say something regarding the show. What kind of stuff do you cover on the show?
It's really all about a real mixture, but it's all about optimism, obviously.
Yeah.
And speaking to people that have got some incredible insight or some guidance on people on how to navigate these choppy waters that we're going through at the moment and to lead a better life. And it's a bit like you, really. So I need to get you on my show.
Yeah, and I'll be happy to. And by the way, I know what I was going to say now. Talking about bullying, to me, there's two ways to deal with bullies. And I don't know which one's better, and I don't know if I'm right. But this worked for me. So back in the day, one bully, I never dealt with one bully. I always dealt with 4, 5, 6, 7 of them at the same time. Like when I was younger, I got jumped a few times. And what worked for me in that situation was to just grab onto one, because there's so much chaos. And I believe this works in life and confusion too. When things are confusing and things are all over the place, you just got to grab one stable datum, grab on one thing. And I learned this from reading some books, but grab onto one thing and then move on to the next thing when you're done with the one thing. So when I was getting bullied, I would just grab onto one guy and just lay into him, because there was so much confusion that if you grab onto somebody when all the confusion is going on, they don't really have a chance to, you have a better chance of grabbing onto them and beating them rather than one-on-one, because they don't know who's grabbing them. And you're so laser focused on just grab one guy.
Mhm.
And then usually you just let them have it. And then they're like, wait a minute, this guy fights back. And then this guy got his ass kicked so bad, but he was kicking one of our guys' ass. That helped me. One, I'm not saying I don't advocate violence, but that's just if you can't help it, right? Because you're all over the place. Number two, when you're one-on-one and it's just verbal and this and that, or even physical, really explain and communicate to the person that it's a shame that they bully you, because really when people bully you, it's all because they feel so bad and they're trying to justify the fact that they're in a position that they are, and they're usually quitters.
Yeah.
They've quit on their dreams and hopes. And if you lay that out to them and explain to them that every time you do this to me, you're just reinforcing the fact that you've quit and given up on your dreams. Why don't you let me help you with your dreams?
Absolutely.
And just say that to them so that they, when it goes through their head to pick on somebody or do something else, they always hear that thought, that word in their head, those words that, man, I'm doing this because I'm a quitter. And so it's a little psychological tactic I'd used. And still to this day, I remind people of it, because that's what it's all about, man. It's just because those people feel so bad about themselves that they're trying to subconsciously justify the position of them that they have in life at this moment.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I like to talk about that. But Steve, listen, any final words for the audience?
No, I just wanted to thank you for doing a great job on this podcast. It's an incredible thing you're doing, and I'm really grateful for you for inviting me on. And I hope with with all my heart that maybe one person listens to it and it helps them.
Absolutely, man. Definitely will. Don't worry about that. And I appreciate you, Steve. And I wish you to have a great day. I look forward to doing more things with you. And guys, you've been listening to the What Are You Made Of podcast with your boy, Mike C-Roc, and Steve Ody from across the pond, the Traveling Optimist. Go check out his podcast. And guys, go get the Rocket Fuel book, MikeCroc.com/book, Mike C-Roc with no K, CROC, MikeCroc.com/book. Go get a copy and learn how to turn setbacks into rocket fuel and become unstoppable and indestructible. Until next time.